Elon Musk makes another bold statement, raising eyebrows everywhere, and both of our contributors, Tom Moloughney and Eli Burton, will be here to weigh in. In an ironic twist of fate, Elon's punishment from SEC makes him about $60 million, and he celebrated by adding an extra merchandise item in the Tesla stores and dropping the price of the Model Y. Audi unveils a Model Y competitor. Fisker and Rivian both surprised us with newly raised capital. We'll hear from both of their CEOs. Leno makes an interesting choice for his next electric car review, and Rich Rebuilds gets his video taken down and the affiliate program canceled by Tesla and its fan base. All of this is coming up next. Welcome to E4 Electric, your #1 source of electric car scoop. If this is your first time here and you are interested in everything that's going on in the wonderful world of electric cars, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, let's get to our top story, and of course it involves Elon Musk. He was speaking at the World's Artificial Intelligence Conference, and he made a statement that definitely raised some eyebrows. Specifically, he mentioned that Tesla is very close to the level 5 autonomy. So before I have a stroke, why don't we bring in both of our contributors, and we'll start with Inside EV's contributor, Tom Moloughney. All right, Tom, you've heard what Elon said. Do you believe him?
I guess it's that time of the year, Alex, where Elon's got to promise that full self-driving's right around the corner. You know, we've seen this show before. No, I really don't believe him. We're not close to level 5 autonomy. Nobody is, Tesla included.
All right, well, where do you think they are right now? Because as you know, they are rewriting the code, which tells me on one hand that it will be better, but on another hand that they didn't do the correct job in the first place. Where do you think they're sitting right now, and what do you expect from that rewrite?
Well, we hope it's better. I mean, we assume that that's why they're rewriting the code, that, you know, they realize they have to do something a different way. But, you know, where are we now? We're somewhere at level 2, level 2.5-ish. You know, Tesla really isn't at a true level 3 autonomy yet, at least in the vehicles that they let their customers drive. So, you know, I'd like to see a good solid level 3 out first for a little while before I believe that they're even close to level 4. I mean, level 4 and level 5 are very close to the same thing. So, you know, if they get to level 3, it's like, okay, now they're only really one big step from full autonomy. But that's a huge step. Getting from 3 to 4 is a huge step, because that's where, when you jump from 3 to 4, it's where there's no longer requires human intervention. You no longer require a human to be paying attention. They could be reading a book. They could be texting. You know, they don't have to pay attention to the road in level 4. So that's a huge step forward. They could even sleep. So, you know, we're nowhere near that, as you know, as anybody who drives a Tesla knows. And I don't think just rewriting some code and working on it for a couple months is going to get us to that level.
Before I bring in Eli Burton of My Tesla Adventure, I should mention that both Eli and Tom are Tesla owners, except for Tom chose not to have the full self-driving package in his Tesla, and Eli definitely chose to have one in his, and he absolutely loves it. All right, Eli, another big statement from Elon Musk, and it definitely gets me excited. I mean, obviously, we all want to get to the point where we can just, you know, be on our phones and sleep or whatever in cars. But at the same time, you know, it looks like they're saying they're very close to level 5. But then I'm seeing these videos where, you know, Tesla mistakes a Burger King sign for a stop sign, or smashes into an overturned truck, which we covered recently. And, you know, even me and you did a kind of a funny video where, you know, to point out that even for the parking lot summit, Tesla sometimes is scared of its own shadow. To me, the reality of what it is right now doesn't really match the near future that Elon is talking about. What's your take on that?
So there's a couple components to this. One, what Elon's talking about, Elon's not saying that by January of 2021, we are going to be getting in our cars and going to sleep, going from point A to point B. What he's saying, and he said this before, they're going to be feature complete, meaning all the core components are going to be built. And then it's going to be about training the neural net and the AI and refinement. And you're absolutely right. So part of the difference too is the software that we're running on right now, the Autopilot we're running on, was still the software that was designed for the GPU processors that they had from NVIDIA, and is not yet the new software version they've rewritten to be optimized for the NPUs, the neural processing units that they've made. So I'd say, to be honest, it's going to be hard to judge how good that is until they push out the new rebuilt version designed for the NPUs.
All right, so I mean, let's unwrap what's happening here. So first of all, they are rewriting their original, or the latest version of the Autopilot, which essentially means that what they thought was going to work really wasn't. Almost like a repeat of what happened with the AP1 hardware, right? And Elon has been kind of singing the same tune for a few years now, how close we are, or they are, to level 5. So essentially, wouldn't you say, like, he really wasn't really 100% right, or just flat out wrong when he was talking about the same thing a couple of years ago, where now we find out that they weren't exactly heading in the right direction and now have to rewrite the code?
So they were definitely wrong when, I think in 2017, Elon was saying that I think by the end of 2018, he'd be doing a coast-to-coast drive autonomously. Clearly, as it turned out, that they could not squeeze the performance they needed out of that existing hardware, but he's very bullish in believing that they can now with this new NPU architecture. And I think they have a good shot. I mean, they've now designed their own chipset that's one of the most powerful processors ever made, specifically for vision and autonomy. They've got a lot more experience, and most importantly, they have an unbelievable amount of data. They now have billions of miles. So I'm willing to bet that this iteration, I think they've probably figured it out. But clearly, the one before, they hadn't. They thought they had, but they hadn't.
Yeah, no, and I think that's why it's easier to doubt him now, when we kind of now know a couple of years ago he maybe wasn't right on the money. And you also mentioned that the feature complete, right? The level 5 feature complete. Okay, I don't quite understand it, because it's to me like me coming to you and saying, hey, Eli, I'm going to be a professional hockey player. Look, I got a stick and I got a pair of skates. There's a big leap, between one and the other one. So explain to me again, what is this level 5 feature complete, and how far away you really are from level 5 autonomous, fully developed software?
So it's not quite the right analogy, because that's just equipment and you can't do anything with the equipment. What feature complete is going to be, and I think Elon described it as this previously, it will have a greater than 0% chance to be able to go from point A to point B completely autonomously. So what it's going to be about doing is refining its performance to a point that section by section we'll actually be able to go full autonomy. And I think probably one of the first jumps we're going to see that I think we can actually realistically believe that Tesla is where they say they're going is when they start allowing us to take our hands off the wheel for more extended a period of times on freeway. And right now, as you know, on freeway and side streets where Autopilot works, and even though Autopilot does now handle stop signs and intersections, you still have to be hands on the car.
Oh, I know. That's one of the reasons why I would never get an Autopilot myself until that is a thing. I was one, as you know, I was one of the first users of the Autopilot when we didn't have to do it. That came in later. And by the way, it just, people don't know, it is something that's self-imposed by Tesla itself and not a government regulation. So I kind of agree with you on that. All right, well, I know you love the Autopilot. I know that one of the main reasons you drive a Tesla is for the full self-driving software, and you love it. Now, with your estimation, since you followed this for pretty much the entire time, when do you think it is reasonable to say that Tesla will have a level 5 software ready on the market and working 100%?
Level 5 is very difficult to guess. I would say level 3 by end of this year, early next year. I think this feature complete thing they push out will deliver level 3 autonomy for major freeways. When it comes to level 5, true level 5, it could be 3, 4, 5 years. I think level 4 is easily within 1 to 2 years away. I think 2022, 2023, we'll definitely have solid level 4. That means for most roads, most freeways, most highways, your car can go out and perform autonomously without a driver. But true level 5 means there's no scenario it can't handle, and that even includes, uncharted dirt roads and stuff like that. And I think that's much further off. But for all effective purposes of how we live our lives, which is going to be taken care of by level 4, I think we're probably about 2 years away.
Don't forget to pick up Eli's The Adventures of Starman. I put the link in the description of this video. And also, Elon Musk announced that the combined battery day and the shareholder meeting will happen on September 22nd. Before we get to the next story, which is the upcoming competitor to Tesla Model Y, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by Avanex, the Tesla community's accessory store. Use E4 Electric, the name of this channel, as a discount code for all of your purchases over $100. Audi Q4 Sportback e-tron concept was unveiled. It is a sexy car and it has a sexy price at around $45,000, and that's before the incentives. It will also have about 210 miles of EPA estimated range. Now let's bring back Tom Moloughney once again, and he will explain to us why this unveiling is pretty important. All right, so first let's clarify something. What is the difference between the Q4 e-tron and Q4 Sportback e-tron?
Well, it's like the e-tron and the e-tron Sportback that are available now. Basically, you know, it's the difference between it looking, the e-tron, the Q4 looks more like a boxy, you know, small SUV, and the Q4 Sportback has the sport back that slopes back more aggressively, like a, you know, more like a crossover.
Okay. All right. So now, you know, e-tron has been out there for a while. E-tron Sportback was just released. Now, essentially, the Q4 Sportback e-tron is now fourth all-electric Audi. Why should we be excited about this one?
So the Q4 is going to be the first Audi that uses Volkswagen's MEB platform, and that's really important. The MEB platform is really what Volkswagen and the Volkswagen Group's been telling us is going to really, say, revolutionize their product line. It's going to be spread across many different brands, many different vehicles, and it's going to drive down the cost of their electric vehicles and allow them to do a lot of things with electrification that they couldn't do before.
All right. Now, you know, I'm a fan of the Audi e-tron. I think it's a great, one of the best electric cars out there, and it can actually be more appealing to some people even than the Tesla. However, you know, in Q2, they just released numbers too, just like Tesla did. They sold 1,100 of e-trons here in the United States, which is, you know, embarrassingly tiny. So, you know, is it really that smart of them to keep adding the new all-electric vehicles to their lineup until they really figure out how to sell them?
So, you know, you have to have them to sell them. There hasn't been a tremendous inventory of e-trons here in the US to begin with. And Audi did that on purpose because they knew that it wasn't going to, you know, really light up the brand sales wise, because it's a fairly expensive vehicle, Alex, as well you know. Now when we're talking about the Q4 Sportback, you know, that's going to be somewhere around $45,000, and it's going to offer a lot of value for that. It has an 82 kilowatt hour battery pack. You know, it's gonna have tremendous range. I mean, think about it. It's slightly smaller than the Model Y. It's the same shape, but slightly smaller. It's got a bigger battery, and it potentially might cost less than the Model Y, even before you factor in the fact that it'll still be eligible for the $7,500 federal tax credit, which the Model Y isn't. So all those things could conspire to make the Q4 Sportback a fairly, you know, sought after vehicle.
Now, obviously, you just already went there, and of course, people will all the time. You know, will this be a decent competitor to a Model Y? Do you see this competing, you know, in a reasonable way with a Tesla Model Y?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't think it would outsell the Model Y, but you know, I think it's in that wheelhouse. I mean, it's kind of like you know, you've got Model Y, you've got you know, Mach E, and you've got now the Q4 Sportback are all kind of very similar vehicles, and they all offer something completely different to the consumer, you know, and I think where Audi's niche is going to be is luxury. You look at, at some of the interiors. Audis make, beautiful interiors, and the cars are premium, styling. I think people that are looking for, perhaps people that might have been interested in a Model Y, will look at the Q4 Sportback and say, you know what, this says a little more premium to me, and that's what I'm used to, and go for that.
Don't forget to subscribe to Tom's channel. I put the link to it in the description of this video. Now let's talk about both Rivian and Fisker. Well, what do they have in common? Well, they both just got some injection of cash. Not the same amount, but nevertheless, in this economy, it's pretty impressive. Let's start with Fisker, and they got $50 million in investments. I know this is nothing to write home about. You can't get a factory for that. However, it is definitely enough to keep them afloat for a while and keep developing the Fisker Ocean. Fisker has also hired a new CTO. He is a former Volkswagen of America Senior Vice President of e-mobility, so that's a great addition to their team. As you probably remember, Fisker Ocean has premiered at the CES in Las Vegas this January and will start at around $30,000 after the federal tax credit. Unlike other manufacturers, including Tesla, Fisker has decided to start selling their cheaper model first. And here's Henrik Fisker himself, who is also a contributor to this channel, explaining that decision to me a few months ago in Las Vegas.
Once we get into production, the ultimate volumes of this will give us much higher revenue and profits to actually be able to afford to make some luxury vehicles. But we're also planning another 2 models based on this platform. So overall, this platform will be very efficient cost-wise.
Now let's talk about Rivian. And Rivian did surprise me quite a bit when I saw the news about them getting this investment of, ready for this, $2.5 billion. I started to wonder why I have an old news article in my Google feed, because, last year they got about that same amount, including from Amazon, from Ford, from Cox Automotive, and from the former Tesla investor, T. Rowe Price. Now, T. Rowe Price has once again led this round as well, but it also included some of the current Tesla investors in Amazon. And just like I said, the total is $2.5 billion, which they don't even need. That's right, they had plenty of money in the bank already to bring both their SUV and their electric truck to market, plus the Amazon delivery van, which they have an order of 100,000 units from Amazon. So what should they do with their newly found money? Should they build another factory? Should they bring another model to market? Maybe do some marketing to compete with Tesla? Maybe a brand new studio for one of the electric car YouTubers out there. I don't know. It's their choice. Let me know in the comment section how you think they should spend this money. And by the way, just in case if you're not counting, Rivian has raised over $5 billion in less than 24 months. Here's a Rivian CEO, RJ Scarinch, explaining to me humbly how he thought the year of 2019 went for them when I talked to him a few months ago at one of their events in San Francisco, California.
So 2019 was a lot of things coming together that we've been working on for a while. So, our deal with Amazon, both in terms of their investment, but also in terms of the vehicle program that we have with them, that of course has been something that we've been working on for quite some time. Ford also invested in the company in a meaningful way, and we have a program with them. And then, of course, now we're just really focused on the launch of these vehicles, so a lot of work going into the plant.
In other news, Tesla has lowered the price of the Model Y by about $3,000. Well, not about, really $3,000. So now it will start under $50,000. That is until they finally roll out the standard range version for under $40,000. Now, I know some owners are upset because, they were the first adopters of this model and they had to give Tesla, $1,000 an interest-free deposit, and then in some cases deal with some quality issues, and now, boom, their brand new Model Y has been devalued by a few $1,000s. But at this point, you can't really complain because Tesla did pretty much exactly the same with the Model 3. Bottom line is, it costs extra money to own a brand new model. I think that's pretty normal even with regular gas cars, right? When a new hot model gets to the dealerships for the first time, you end up paying more because it's marked up by many thousands of dollars. And then, once the craze subsides, you can get a bargain. It should be no different with Tesla. Jay Leno, who has been a great supporter of the electric car movement, has featured a new electric vehicle by a new electric vehicle company, which is a bit surprising, but I'm glad he did this. As you know, he has already featured the Tesla Cybertruck and the Tesla Model Y on the previous episodes, and he will feature the Porsche Taycan in one of the upcoming episodes as well. But for now, he has chosen the Canoo, the electric car startup, and he spent a significant amount of time hanging out at their headquarters and test driving the car. The Canoo is a very interesting electric car startup with a very interesting looking electric vehicle. Now, first of all, you won't be able to buy it. They will only go exclusively with the subscription service. Also, Jay checked out their face recognition software that will use for the awareness of the driver, and they have their own platform that they will be building many vehicles on. They have just entered the partnership with the Hyundai Motors, and they will create and co-develop the platform that Hyundai and Kia will use for their future electric vehicles. This very interesting looking pod, or as they call it, the Urban Loft on Wheels, will seat 7 passengers. This company, the Canoo, has received about $1 billion in the original investment. However, we don't know who the investors actually are, and they're promising to launch this at the end of the next year. You can reserve your Canoo now on their website, and they also have a pretty cool referral program, much like Tesla. Unless, of course, you're Rich Rebuilds, and that's our next story. Rich Rebuilds had his new video titled "Why I'm Selling My Tesla and Going Back to Gas" taken down twice, and he believes the responsible party is the big community of the Tesla fanboys. He has reposted that video for the 3rd time, but now it's limited to his Patreon community. But that's not the only thing that happened to him last week. He was also kicked out of the referral program by Tesla, and now all of his referral prices, including the certain percentage off of the Roadster, have been stripped away from him. Now, I'm not going to comment on the referral program issue just yet because I know he will be coming up with the video explaining everything. And what most people are thinking right now is not exactly what the truth really is. So tune in for that video once he uploads it. But I can definitely speak to the original video of him going back to gas cars. Now, as you know, Rich is one of the contributors to this channel, and let me show you one of our quick conversations that we had, I think a few months ago. I've never published this footage, where he flat out told me that that was not a secret and the reason why he wanted to sell his Tesla and go back to the gas cars. I know you recently shared with me that, you also have been thinking that, this whole drama with Tesla that you went through more than an average person has kind of made you thinking about, getting a gas car. Am I hearing this right? And if so, why?
Yeah, it's kind of a very long explanation as to why. And it mostly happened recently when Tesla started removing the supercharging from salvage vehicles. And as you know, I'm on a budget. So, the goal is to save as much money as possible. And when going through the first salvage car that I had, one of the main benefits was that, the car would be worth something in perpetuity because, it could supercharge. The car will always be worth something, and the car will always be worth its value in gas over the next X amount of years. So if you have the car for 5 to 10 years, that's 5 to 10 years worth of free gas because you're using the supercharging network of Tesla. And as of late, Tesla said, hey, listen, thanks for playing, but we're not going to allow the use of supercharging anymore on this vehicle.
And now the most ironic story of the week: Elon Musk has made almost $60 million as a result of the punishment forced on him by SEC. I know it sounds weird, but let me explain. As you remember, it all started with now famous funding secured 420 tweet, which got Elon in trouble with SEC. And as this settlement, there were a few conditions, which also included him stepping down as the board chairman, and that's why Robin Denholm is the current chairman of the board of Tesla for at least 2 years. Now, the other penalty was that both Tesla and Elon himself pay $20 million each in penalties. Now, Elon did not want Tesla to pay any penalties because of his mistake. So what he did was the second best thing, which was he invested $20 million. He bought $20 million worth of Tesla shares, so that way it was also his money that Tesla would pay the penalty with. Well, guess what? The stock prices has gone up. As a matter of fact, it's been just skyrocketing, and now because of that investment that was forced on him by SEC, he made over $60 million. That's pretty ironic. In the light of the stock doing so well, Elon once again decided to take a shot at the shorts, the short sellers of the Tesla stock, and he announced that Tesla will be adding a new item to its online store, and those are it. Here you go, and these are sold out almost immediately, even though they were priced at the ridiculous price of $69.420. And of course, it's because all the Tesla owners that I know will look absolutely great in this shorts, I'm sure. Now, you're probably wondering if I too bought a pair for myself. Well, no, I did not, because simply I don't really need to wear anything to make these videos. Quick shout out to my Patreon community who has been supporting this channel throughout the pandemic. I really appreciate it. Specifically, one of my newer Patreons, Pierre. Thank you so much for joining my Patreon community. If you want to support this channel as well, go to patreon.com/E4Electric. All right, looking forward to all of your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.